This is the plaintiff, Johnny Quaglia. He says he met the defendant through an online social media website, and the guy borrowed money from him and he won't pay it back. He doesn't know what kind of scam the defendant's trying to run, so he's here suing in this court for the $850 he's now owed. This is the defendant, Franklin. He says he went to the plaintiff's apartment, and the guy answered the door buck naked, and he admits he made an arrangement for money for sex with him. Now, for some reason, the guy's trying to get that money back, claiming it was a loan, which it wasn't. He's accused of taking the money and running. The defendant has filed a countersuit for $10,000 for harassment.
All parties, please raise your right hands. People's Court is now in session. The Honorable Judge Marilyn Milley is now presiding. Litigants have been sworn, Your Honor.
Thank you, Douglas.
You're welcome.
Okay, Mr. Quaglia, what brings you to court today?
Well, on December 31st, 2019, around 1 a.m., I was confronted online by the defendant. And
what do you mean by confronted online by the defendant? What does that mean?
Yeah, he had hit me up, started a conversation with me online.
I'm sorry. Did you know him? Was he a friend of yours? Were you on a website?
No.
What?
Yeah, it was on a social media website, dating social media website.
Okay.
So he had hit me up, and I never met him before at all. So
okay.
we started talking. And he asked if he could come over, and I said, sure. And so then he asked me for an Uber ride over to my place. And so I agreed and sent him a car, and he came over to my place. And I asked him if I could get him something to drink or anything, and he said, yeah, he'd like some wine and some cigarettes. So I went to the store and got him some wine and some cigarettes.
I'm sorry. Okay, so you met a stranger online. You had him come over your house at 2 a.m, and then you left him alone there so you could go get him cigarettes and wine. I got you. Keep going.
Yes, sir. Because we have security downstairs, so he wasn't going to go anywhere. So, it was pretty safe.
Really? Why would the security find it strange that someone exit? Okay, go on.
Okay. Well, if he exited with any of my stuff, So he commenced to telling me a story about how he wanted to stay here in New York. He didn't want to go back to Louisville, Kentucky, and that he wanted to pursue his acting career here, and he really needs some help with his rent. And he was. Did
this surprise you, Mr. Quaglia?
Well, not really, because a lot of people do ask. A lot of people do ask for money, but in person, it is a little awkward. And when that happened, I knew that I didn't really want to have too much to deal with him, because he was just asking me for money right off the bat. So.
And you expected him to ask you for money when?
Well, usually it's done online when they start asking for money, and so it's just
Usually it's done online when they start asking for money after you've picked them up. I don't know what. I'm trying to figure out what it is that you are what's the deal here? You asked him to come over, you expected, I guess, to be romantic with him or something, and he ends up asking you for money before that. Is that correct? And then what happens?
That is correct.
Do you give it to him then?
Correct. Well, no, he was going through his story. He started to cry. And said that if he were to go back to Louisville, Kentucky, he would commit suicide. He would kill himself. And I did try to see if I could send him some money through one of the cash apps online, and it didn't go through because I'm not really familiar how to send money. Back then, I wasn't really familiar how to send money through the apps. So I didn't succeed in doing that. So he said, well, do you mind if I try? I said, sure. So this time I was sitting on my bed. I'm only in a studio apartment. There's not very much room. So he was sitting on one of my chairs. And so when he came to ask if he could try, he came over and sat down beside me on the bed. And I was intently looking and watching him as he was doing it, because I don't know this guy. I don't trust him.
Oh,
so he tried a few times.
You don't trust him. Wait. Did you just say, I don't trust him? You left him alone in your house after knowing him for 1 minute, and you brought him to your house at 2 a.m. Gotcha. Yeah. And there's no way he could walk out with anything valuable because apparently your security will see what's in his pockets with their X-ray vision. All right. So what happens? You didn't trust him, and what were you thinking was going to happen?
Well, okay. Well, once he got money, I thought maybe something would happen.
Yeah.
Right. So the money, so it was locked. My bank had locked the funds from going anywhere. So once he knew that no funds were going to come out of me, he decided to collect himself and leave. Neither of us were naked. We were both fully clothed. And
okay.
And so he was like, well, can you get me an Uber to go home? And I said, sure. At this time, I really wanted him to go because it was a nuisance. So
if it was a nuisance, how did your $850 get into his bank account? Because eventually you did send it. So when did you send it?
Okay, that morning I went to sleep, and when I woke up the next day, everything was a normal day. But then the night when New Year's Eve night, he had called me and had awoken me and asked if he says instead of the $1,500 he was originally asking, he would do $850. That would be fine. He would be able to pay his rent and stay in New York. So I tried it, and it went through. And I said, well, there you go. It went through. Happy New Year.
Well, why did you try it, though? You're telling me that he was a creep and tried to just hit you up for money and then immediately left, and it was a nuisance. Then why did you send him $850 the next day?
That's what I've been asking myself ever since that day happened. I do not know why. I don't. And he was not even in my apartment. I can't tell you why I did it.
Right. I'm trying to understand if this is a loan, when and how were you planning on getting paid by a guy who's so down and out on his luck that he's answering social media ads to show up and, go ahead.
He said he had a wonderful job that he could pay me no problem. This is all, I mean.
If he had a wonderful job, why would he need your help with his rent?
That's a good question.
Mr. Franklin, what's going on?
So here's what happened. First of all, I met him on an app called Jack. Jack is the app. That is what I met him on. When I met him on there, he messaged me. And yes, I asked him if I could come over. And I said, I have.
Okay, what kind of an app? I'm sorry, I'm not familiar with Jack. What kind of an app?
It's okay. It's a gay app. It's a queer app for where you can meet people on there, just like Grindr, Tinder. You just meet people on there. And so I met him when he.
Can you hold on 1 second? Let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
There are dating apps and then there are hookup apps.
Mm-hmm.
Apps. So is this a hookup app or is this a dating app where you're actually going to meet somebody and they become meaningful to you? Or is it both?
Honest,
I don't know.
I think it's both. I honestly think it's all both. When I met him on this app, I was telling him, hey, can I come over and talk with you? I said, I am going through things. I lived in Manhattan. I lived in New York City for 2.5 years. I had to move out of my apartment because I lived with 2 drug addicts. And I don't do drugs. I am nowhere near doing that. I am very clean, very responsible. And the lady who was in the apartment, the lease owner, she was an abuser. She abused me. She was constantly on drugs and everything. And so luckily, I had a friend who said, hey, you can stay with me. Now, I was also this woman's caregiver, and that was my job. I was taking care of her, and I really wanted to get her to go to rehab so she can stop doing drugs. She didn't do that. I was tired of it. So basically, I had to lose my job. I did not have a job. I had no money because I was spending so much money helping this woman. Then,
okay, Mr. Franklin, let's try to focus. You're on the app. And it's what time of the morning?
This was actually at night. This was around the 31st. I would say roughly around 11 o'clock p.m. 11 o'clock.
On New Year's Eve proper or the day before?
New Year's Eve.
Okay. So what time of the day or night did you go over to this stranger's apartment?
Around midnight.
Midnight?
I would say, yeah, I would say roughly.
All right. And what time did you leave?
I would say around 2 a.m.
Okay. Now, Mr. Quaglia, can I ask you a question? What was the purpose of him coming over? Is it the obvious?
Yes, ma'am.
It is the obvious.
Yeah,
All right. So now, Mr. Franklin, according to him, he doesn't expect that you're going to hit him up for money, and you hit him up for money. And you give him the sob story that you were explaining to me about your difficult circumstances, et cetera, et cetera. Now, what happens? Because he says you're supposed to pay him back and you never pay him back. What is your reason for not paying him back?
The reason because when he was hitting me up and getting my lift and everything, even though I told him I just wanted to talk, he wanted to have basically do sexual things with me. And that is also in the messages I have on screenshot and proved and even sent. And you can see.
So why'd you go? If that's not what you had in mind, why'd you go?
I went because I just wanted to talk. That's all I wanted to do.
You went at midnight to some stranger's house that you found on a hookup app because you wanted to talk. That's what you're telling me, right?
Yes. Exactly. Yes.
Okay. Well, do you think I'm stupid? I mean, come on, man. That, you're going to his house. He's paying for your Uber. He's sending you texts. Let's see the text you're getting before you walk in there. Hey, baby, okay, should I head out now? I can't wait to. And you're telling me that you went over there because you wanted to chit chat? I mean, all right, so now you get there, and what is it that you discuss with him about money, according to him, from Jump Street? How much money are you asking him for? $1,500?
No, it was $850. It was not $1,500. It was $850. That's what I told him.
Okay.
And when I arrived,
did anything happen between the two of you in the 2 hours that you were there?
Yes. So when I arrived at the apartment, actually, he opened the door. He was completely butt naked. No clothes on, had no underwear on, nothing, just completely naked. And my reaction was just kind of like, whoa, like, can you put some clothes on? Like, hey, I'm just, sitting down to talk. And that's true. That was 100%. I did not do anything. I just wanted to talk. Then he went and I did not stay at the apartment. I went with him to go get the wine. And I also went with him to go get the cigarettes. We came back to the apartment and we sat down and talked. He also still wanted to do sexual things with me and everything. I kept my clothes on until he said the only way that I was going to be getting any money was if I took my clothes off and did sexual things with him. Now, that's my fault. That's my mistake that I took in on that action. And, I'm probably not the only person in this whole entire world who has done something like that, because that is, again, that's my fault.
No, I know,
but
that. I'm trying to understand what your defense is. I sold my body for sex so I don't have to pay him back, or you didn't have sex, or what is it you're saying? I'm trying to understand, because it flips back and forth in the messages. So I'm trying to understand what the deal was. Go ahead.
After I came over and talked and everything with him and not wanting to do sexual things, he said the only way I would get the money is if I did sexual things with him.
And so did you?
We did not have sex. This is when the transaction that he's talking about, this is when I was helping him. And he was sitting there next to me. He wasn't even paying attention. He was kissing on me, touching me and everything like that. And I specifically told him not to touch me.
Okay. He didn't give you money that night.
Nope, he didn't.
And then he ends up sending you the money the next day. Had you reached out to him again the next day to ask for the money, like he says?
Yes, for the fact that I did all that.
All right. That's why? Okay. And then he sends you the money. And then he starts to ask you very soon after that, when are you going to pay me the money back? Correct?
Exactly. Yes. And I feel like I shouldn't, for the fact that I did all that for this man. And it's like, how, if I'm paying you back this money, how am I getting my dignity back for the fact that I went over there and did all that stuff? And this is the first time that I ever done this in my life of doing this. I never did this. This is the first time. I made a shit. Yeah.
According to you, Mr. Franklin sent you naked pictures of himself before he went over. Is that right, Mr. Quaglia?
Yes, ma'am.
All right. And before you started asking Mr. Franklin to pay you back, Had you been reaching out to Mr. Franklin for companionship again, and he was kind of ignoring you?
No.
When did he complain, stop blowing up my phone, and why did he complain about that?
That was the morning of New Year's Day. I was trying to get a hold of him in the morning to see when he was going to pay me back. And then that's when he said, stop blowing up my phone. And I realized that I was going to get my money back.
Well, it's kind of odd to loan somebody $850 that you expect back and to call about it the next day. It's very weird. So exactly what changed between day 1 and day 2? He sent you that text saying, stop blowing up my phone?
Yeah, well, right. I just wanted to clarify because since I didn't give him the money, he didn't get the money the night before. When he got the money the next day, that's when I wanted to clarify when I was going to start seeing my money being paid back to me.
All right. You send out an email to him. On January 12th, you say, what you're experiencing will only get worse until you deposit that money back into my PayPal account. It is up to $950 now because I guess you're demanding interest. And then, hey, can we meet? And that's from Mr. Franklin to you. So did you guys meet ever again or no?
No, we didn't.
Okay. And then at some point, he says to you, you are not going to F me over of the $825 that you owe me. This will not happen. Be a man and pay what you owe me and we'll be done with this. Then you say, that's fine, I'll pay you back, but I'm going to the cops after you get it from PayPal. Don't contact me ever again. So why are you saying I'll pay you back if it's not money you owe?
I said that I would pay him back for the fact that it was going to be guilt money for him. Guilt. And I said that I was going to go to the cops for it so that he remembered what he did inside that apartment.
Okay, either leave me the alone or I will go to the police. Wow. Pay me my money and don't let me do a ritual on you. Un trabajito. What is a ritual on you? Voodoo? Mr. Franklin, was that what he was threatening? Witchcraft?
Yes, witchcraft. Witchcraft and then also, a lot of witchcraft.
Because if you did look at my apartment, you would have noticed some black magic figures lying around. Did you do some witchcraft on him? Oh, look at this one. Sir Lord God. Is that what you call yourself, Mr. Quaglia?
That's my other alias. Yes.
Okay. Sir Lord God, you are cursed. In 6 days it will start. It will stop once you PayPal my account $900. So if you're not suicidal now, you'll definitely will be after 6 days. Have a great life. Did he send that to you?
Yes, he did.
Now, at one point when he emails you, you respond as though you are your mother. Is that correct?
Yes, 100%.
And why do you do that? So he'll leave you alone and you won't have to pay?
I just wanted him to leave me alone. That's all I wanted him to do. I wanted him just to leave me alone. It's not even about the money at all whatsoever. And to be honest, when I even told, as far as, the show.
It's about the principle?
Yes. Yes.
Okay. So it's kind of excuse after excuse after excuse to not pay the money that you got him to pay you. I do have a question for you, though. You mentioned in there, and this is actually the essence of your counterclaim, that he posted nudes of you. Tell me about that.
So he sent me a link, and I clicked on the link, and basically he posted my nude, my private part on the web, and basically for everyone to see. I don't have an OnlyFans. I don't want people to see my nudes all over the web and everything.
Mr. Quaglia, did you post nudes of Mr. Franklin on a blog?
I posted the video that he had sent me, yes, but it doesn't show his face.
Yeah, and is that a video that he sent you before he went to your apartment?
Yes, ma'am.
Oh,
that's the video he sent me.
So now, let me ask you a question. You posted it on a blog. Did that blog exist before? Does that blog exist after? Is this your blog? What is this that he's talking about that you posted it?
It's blogger.com from Google. And
so people saw that, right? And they saw it associated with his name. Okay, but you posted it on a public blog, and if anybody wanted to, they could, and you don't know that people didn't see it, and that's the point of putting it on the blog, for people to see it. And you also put it on the blog with his name and your complaints attached to him that he was a thief, right?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, how long was that up?
It was up until probably about 6 months. And now it doesn't even show it doesn't show anymore. Nothing shows up.
Okay. Now, Mr. Franklin, these are pictures that you actually sent to him. I'm sorry, not pictures, videos. How did you send those videos?
Oh, it was through text message.
Which isn't a particularly secure way to send pictures of yourself. And when I'm looking at all of your email responses to him, it's almost an afterthought to mention that, oh, and by the way, you put nudes of me up. I just realized that you can't do that. And then he took them right down once you said that, because you threatened a lawsuit and he took it right down, right?
Yes.
Yeah. All right, you know what? Here's where we are. Mr. Quaglia, you've come to court asking me to make Mr. Franklin pay you back the money that you fronted to him, which you say was a loan. I don't know whether it was a loan or wasn't a loan. I think that you were buying the sexual favors of a man that could be your son. You're 55, he's 25, he looks very young. And it was fine and dandy with you so long as he was paying attention to you. And then when he wasn't, literally in 24 hours, when are you going to pay me back? When are you going to pay me back? When are you going to pay me back? Mr. Franklin, you called Mr. Quaglia a predator in your emails. A predator presumes that the thing that is preyed upon is unwilling, unsuspecting. I don't know that that would be an accurate description of you, Mr. Franklin. For whatever reasons, you wanted to stay in New York, you needed the money, and Mr. Quaglia was, for all intents and purposes, a perfect patsy for you because you got $850, okay?
Yes.
So then all of a sudden, it is incredibly evil of you to then start claiming that you're 17, pretending you're your mother, making a million excuses to not pay him back after you said you would. But Mr. Franklin's evilness at doing that is only surpassed by Mr. Quaglia's evilness at posting the video of him. So, Mr. Quaglia, I am ordering Mr. Franklin to pay you back that $825, but I am also ordering you to pay him $825 for posting his pictures. So you today will get nothing. The net judgment is zero. That is my verdict, gentlemen. Good luck.
Well, the plaintiff prevailed in the case, but the judge orders him to get nothing. Let me talk to you for a moment, Mr. Quaglia, since you're the plaintiff in this case, and you're obviously not going to get the money out of it that you hope to get. What do you think the repercussions of this will be? Any idea?
No, no clue. I haven't thought that far ahead. Yeah.
All right. Well, I'll let you go with that. Mr. Franklin, let me ask you something. What do you think you've learned from this whole experience?
Honestly, this is probably going out to all, just in the gay community that, and anyone who tries to ask, basically just borrowing and like if you're in like a tough situation and asking to borrowing for like, sugar daddies and all this stuff. And, you just have to be careful. You have to be careful. You don't know who you're going to meet and who you're talking to. And sometimes you will end up in the wrong, and based in a messy situation. And, I would probably never really do that ever again, honestly. And just, stay focused on what I want to do in my life and not being able to like ask for help.
Well, I know you've learned a lot from this. Well, good luck to you. Okay? What a story. Harvey, what do you think about this case?
Okay, Doug, well, look, this is called an offset in the law. This happens all the time. You may owe somebody money, but if they also owe you money for something totally different, what you say is, look, I owe you maybe $1,000, but you owe me $1,000, so we're even. And that's essentially what happened here. They both owed essentially the same amount, and they both ended up with nothing.
Hey, judges, what are some of your weird house rules? Thanks, Stevie.
Weird house rules. When food gets left out or a mess gets made, what happens in our house is somebody photographs it with an iPhone like it's a crime scene. And they'll take photographs from a few different angles, and then boom, they get posted in our group chat until somebody fesses up and there's a moment of reckoning. It's like, it's the modern equivalent of the stocks or the pillory back in medieval times, right?